Hi, my name is Jacob, and this is my Journey in Truth video newsletter for Sunday, February 11, 2018. If you're watching this video through my Instagram account, please be sure to copy and paste the web link below to be navigated to my Facebook page, Journey in Truth, where you can watch the full featured video. So with that being said, the topic for today's newsletter is: how did the Israelites manage to come to the American continent well before Christopher Columbus? Before I dive into this, I just want to confirm that this video should have been part of yesterday's newsletter. However, due to time constraints, I didn't manage to squeeze this in. So this is technically part 2 of yesterday's video, because if you listen to my introduction, you'd notice that I was missing this segment in yesterday's video. So with that being said, let's get started. So we've learned a great deal. If you've been watching my videos, we've learned a great deal about the Israelites this past week. But for the sake of this video, what we want to focus on are the kingdoms, the 2 kingdoms of Israel. So you had the kingdom of Israel in the north, which was comprised of, which consisted of the 10 tribes led by Ephraim. And then in the kingdom to the south, that was the kingdom of Judah, comprised of the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So all the remaining 10 tribes, they were part of the kingdom of Israel in the north, just so that we understand the differences between the 2 kingdoms. So, when the Assyrian Empire rose to power in the year 722 BC or before Christ, they conquered the northern kingdom and transported them out of their lands, and they brought them to the land of Assyria. Then rose up the Babylonian Empire around 606 BC, and they conquered the southern kingdom of Judah and all of Assyria, which included the northern kingdom of Israel, who were slaves in Assyria. So when the Babylonians invaded Assyria in the year 606 BC, not only did they conquer all of Assyria, but they absorbed the kingdom of Israel in the north, and they absorbed the kingdom of Judah in the south. And they put him into slavery. Then in the year 536 BC, Cyrus, the king of the Persian and Mede Empire, this is ancient Iran, he conquered all of Babylon, which included the kingdoms of Judah and the kingdom of Israel, who were slaves in Babylon at this time. But the Heavenly Father, he made Cyrus free all Israel, according to the book of Ezra, this is in the Apocrypha, chapter 1, verses 1 through 9. So there's validation in the Bible relating to this. So it was at that time the kingdom of Israel decided to go into another land that we call America. So let me give you the validation for that. So in the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, verse 40, he reads, "Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive." So this is confirming what I stated previously. "And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land." Now this is not referring to the Americas yet. He's referring to some region in modern-day Iraq. But they took this counsel among themselves. He's referring to the kingdom of Israel. They took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into another country where never mankind dwelt. That's the key word, where never mankind dwelt. The kingdom of Israel got together and they said, we have to leave here. And we're going to go into this other land where no man has dwelt. In verse 42, it reads that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow place of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely 1.5 years, and the same region is called Arserath. So what's being stated here in these verses is that they would enter the Euphrates River, and God would hold back the water so that they could get past the river and into, I believe it's the Red Sea. No, I think it's the Persian Gulf, excuse me. I'll confirm that in just a sec. He's saying through that country there was a great way to go, namely 1.5 years. So it took them about 1.5 years to get to Aseroth. The land where never mankind dwelt is the Americas. So the above verse proves that the so-called Indians scattered through Canada, North, Central, and South America are Israelites of the 10 tribes of Israel, and did not come from the Bering Straits as America teaches in their school system. Meaning, if you look at the map, look at the region where Alaska is and where Russia is. There's a channel of water, not a channel of water, but it's an opening where you have a strait, or in this case, it's called the Bering Strait, where water is separating the land. And in history, I remember learning this in school. They taught us that this is how the American continent was colonized. People got over to the American continent through the Bering Strait. That's what we've been taught. But what this is proving, no, this is not what happened. And there's actually more proof. But here, let me show you this map. I want to draw your attention to the red lines. This is the path that God led the kingdom of Israel to come to the American continent. So just take a look at the red line for now. I want to draw your attention there. If you want to pause the video, go ahead. But just take a look at that red line in the map, and that's the path they navigated to get to the Americas. So when Columbus discovered America, there were already people dwelling there, which he labeled as Indians. So Indians is another name for indigenous or naturally in a particular place, a native. That's what it means to be indigenous, but he called them Indians. It's short for that. America and Aseroth were both known as the land where no man dwelt. This is why the term New World was placed on America, because no one had ever dwelt there. Also, do know that the continent was not called America until the late 1400s by the explorer and cartographer Amerigo Vespucci. This is why the term Aseroth is applied to the continent. The term Aseroth is applied to the continent. Although the native Indians and Hispanics are historically recorded to be the first living in the Americas prior to the European invasion and established great civilizations such as the Aztec, the Mayan, the Maya, Olmec, etc. But they knew themselves that they were not originally from that land, but were strangers to it, seeking refuge and a new beginning. They knew this themselves in their history. So here's a quote from the book Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders on page 148. Excuse me. He quotes the Aztec Emperor Montezuma as saying the following. Long ago in our sacred writings, our ancestors informed us that neither they or I or any of the other inhabitants of this land are indigenous to it, meaning they're not natives to this land. Their ancestors informed them. So this is throughout their history, they've known this. But we are foreigners. We come from a completely different place. And that our race was brought here by a lord whose vassals they all were. What he's saying is that their race of people, their civilization, it was brought to the Americas by a god, a lord, who they were dependent subjects or servants for. This is what he means when he says vassals. So now, to add more validation to this, the prophet Moses, he prophesied the 10 tribes of Israel leaving and going to the other side of the earth, led by the tribe of Ephraim, which would have been leading the kingdom of Israel when they decided to leave the Middle East and follow God's signs to come to the Americas, the land where no man dwelt. Now, I'm going to read from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 17. He says, "His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh." So Moses is prophesying that, led by Ephraim and Manasseh, that they would push the Israelites into the ends of the earth. And then I'm going to read from the book of Hosea, chapter 11, verse 10. He says, "They shall walk after the Lord. He shall roar like a lion. When he shall roar, then the children shall tremble from the west, because the 10 tribes of Israel left the east and went to the west." So this also proves that in 1492, Christopher Columbus, he knew exactly where he was going and what people lived there, because he studied the biblical scriptures. And by the way, before I even came across this information, I had reviewed other content where it was asserted that Christopher Columbus read the Bible, and somehow through the Bible he knew about the Americas. Now, if you read the scriptures, if you're reading the traditional Holy Bible, you won't find those verses. But if you read from the Apocrypha, which the Roman Catholic Church removed from the Bible when it was printed, when it was translated back in the mid-1500s or so, I think it was right around that time that they took the Apocrypha out of the Bible. And that's the proof, the validation that that the scriptures were pointing to the land where no man had dwelt. So thus far, we've talked about the kingdom of Israel and how they came to the how they came to the Americas, right? So let's talk about the kingdom of Judah. So in the 1600s, another atrocity occurred, which brought millions of so-called, black people throughout the Americas by slaughter and slavery. So now, I'm going to confirm that all of the so-called black and Negroes who came over in slave ships, they're the kingdom of Judah. Now I'm going to prove it to you. In the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 1, it reads, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." So he's saying that the kingdom of Judah and Jerusalem would be taken into captivity. He would plead for them, for his people, for his heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, among all the other nations, and they parted his land, the land of Israel. Judah and Jerusalem is referring to the southern kingdom, as I stated previously. Judah, the American blacks, Benjamin, the West Indian blacks, and Levi, the Haitian blacks of today, they were scattered among the nations in slavery, and this is proven in history, by cargo slave ships. In slavery, their homeland Israel has been parted and divided by the Arab Palestinians, and later by the Ashkenazi Jews who claiming this was their native land. But the Ashkenazi Jews, they're no different than non-Israelite people like, the other nations who convert to Christianity. They don't have Israelite genealogy in their blood. They don't have that. They're converts. This is what he means when the other nations have parted and divided their land. And then in the book of Joel chapter 3 verse 3 he says, yeah, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? He's referring to the Africans. He says, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? He's referring to the Arabs now. Will ye render me a recompense? He means a judgment. And if ye recompense me, meaning judge me, swiftly and speedily will I return your judgment upon your own head. He's telling the Africans and the Arabs this. The Africans and Arabs, they thought they could judge God by selling the Israelites into slavery. That's exactly what they did. So now I'm going to go back to this map that I got here, and I want to show you now, I'm going to draw your attention to now the purple line. Pay attention to the purple line. This is the kingdom of Judah that came over to the Americas through the slave trade. You'll see that it initiates in the Middle East, it goes through Africa, and then they end up in the Americas. Then in the book of Joel chapter 3 verse 5 he says, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried away into your temples my goodly pleasant things. What he's referring here to is the ancient churches of the Israelites were robbed and desecrated. There was a church in Romania, in Eastern Europe. It's still there today. It's called the Church of the Vornet, built in 1488 in the Dark Ages. You can Google this church. The walls are covered with images of black Israelites. All the prophets, Christ, even the hand of God Almighty is black. This is only one of 1,000 churches the Israelites built during the Dark Ages when dark-skinned men ruled the world. So when they refer to Dark Ages, what that's referring to is when the Israelites, the dark-skinned people, they were ruling the world. And this is true. This is found throughout history. They invaded, like most of Europe, from Spain to Italy. They invaded all these nations, and they built up their own churches. Not the churches you see today. They're different churches. In fact, just a side note, the Russian Orthodox Church, in their ancient books, which they still have today, and you can Google this too, in their ancient books within the church, they depict Jesus and all of his apostles as being black men. Black men. Now I'm going to go on to the book of Joel chapter 3 verse 6. He says, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. Remember, the kingdom of Judah, comprised of Benjamin, Levi, and Judah, remember, they didn't come over to the Americas with the kingdom of Israel. They went into slavery, and he says, the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, meaning in slavery, that ye might remove them far from their border, to take them away from the land of Israel. This explains the slave trades of the Africans and the Arabs. They sold the Israelites to the Grecians and Europeans. Again, confirmed through history books. And they were removed far from their homeland of Israel by slave ships. So what did I establish today? I established that God led the kingdom of Israel to Asarath, or the Americas, or the land where no man dwelt. The kingdom of Judah came over in slave ships, like we just learned, through the slave trade in Europe, as God had prophesied, because both kingdoms, they forsaked God's commandments, and these were the penalties, the curses, that they had to pay that we learned about earlier this week. When Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas, there were indigenous people or Indians living there. But remember, the Aztec emperor was quoted as saying that their ancestors informed them that they were led to the Americas by a god they are servants to. They were looking for a new beginning. They were looking for a refuge. They wanted to start over, and this is where their God sent them. And finally, I confirmed through this week's teachings that there is biblical and historical alignment that the so-called black people, the Negroes, and Latin people are among the 12 tribes of Israel, as they meet all of the biblical requirements, their history, slavery, captivity, and again, with God prophesizing that he would lead them to the Americas. They meet all the requirements to be the Israelites. So with that being said, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment below. I hope this video has added tremendous value to your life. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless you.